It is a different crowd. The animation crowd is way different than the YouTube crowd.
Cult-like fan base.
Yeah, just these are people who are much more loyal to the lore, pay more attention to the finer details. They treat the merch with a bit more seriousness. It's not just something to wear. It's like something to write in, to wear on your hat, to clip on. Just everything about the culture is so much more. The devotion is so much higher. And as an artist, it's gratifying in a way because you feel like none of the details are going to be wasted. You don't feel like, are they going to pay attention to they notice everything. This crowd notices every little tiny thing, and they create videos analyzing it. And it's so much fun to watch these because you feel just like every ounce of effort you put into the writing, which I'm one of the 3 writers on the show. And to see people pick it apart and come up with theories about future episodes, it's such a compliment as a writer. And I'm not saying I don't get that on my channel, but I'm seeing a lot more of it with this crowd. I'm seeing a lot more people breaking down the episodes and taking the story more seriously and analyzing things harder. So yeah, I think it encourages me to see people get analytical over my work.
What's the writing group and process look like for an animated show like Helluva Boss for YouTube?
I think the core of Helluva Boss really is that we all have Vivian, Adam, and myself all have very similar senses of humor. And
Adam Neiman?
Nayland. Yeah, Adam Nayland.
Oh, he's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
And we all, when we hang out, we're very much laughing at a lot of the same stuff. It tickles us similarly. And of course we disagree with like little tiny things, but overall we're very much in the same vein of, yes, this is the best option. Like usually if I have an idea and Adam or Vivian come up with a better idea, there's no real debate as to like, we should go. It's really like, oh yeah, that one's clearly the better option. So I think we make a great team because we all kind of agree on what is best for the show. We're always willing to back down if a better idea comes forward. Yeah.
I think as a kid, you just picture an animated show and there's just tons of people and big wigs, and there's the creative process is just so different because you have to go through a network. Yeah. But with YouTube, she has the animators that she hires out that are part of are they fully staffed?
Yeah, I actually don't know how any of that works. I do I write for the show and then I voice it, but even the gap between that is so long.
How long?
I mean, I'll forget what we wrote. I'll come back months later and I'll be in the studio and I'll see the script. Some of them are, some of the episodes I was the head writer on, and I don't remember some of the plot twists. Wow. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Because think about it. Like, if you make something, but you only write it, you don't even make it. You just write it, and then you throw it in a drawer and forget about it for months. And then you come back to it, you will kind of forget key elements of it. So it is kind of fun going into the studio, and then I see, it's new to me again. But then it goes to animation because the voice is number one. That comes first, and then sometimes they'll have us voice after the animators throw in a really cool thing, and then they'll be like, "Can you actually do what this animator did?" And they're like, "Okay," and they'll come back in, and we have to sometimes they'll animate like an effort that we have to do, like or a jump or So then we'll come in because the animators gave us an action that we have to voice for. But most of the time, you go in, you voice record, and then again months. It could be years, actually. I mean, there's the episode that just came out now was like fucking over a year old, or almost a year and a half that we recorded it.
What's the process? Because it takes so long to get the animations done?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know a lot about animation, but I know a lot more now having worked on the show than I ever did before. Because I go enough of these events, and you have all these animators there with Viv, and they're all like talking animation talk, and you kind of pick up some of it, and you're kind of like, oh, interesting. That's like compositing, that's its own department, or its own job is just the layers of like smoke, like whatever comes in the foreground of the lens. So if there's rain or lighting and the way the light hits things, like that's just its own thing. That's its own job right there. And every little thing, the designing of the weapons, the props, the costumes, because you hand that off to other people who have to take those items and animate them. So you have to create like, this is what this gun looks like from this side, this side, this side. So it's a very long process, and with a lot of different people having to share information and make sure that, you don't want the characters to look different. And like, if you could tell one animator did this scene and another animator did this scene, the characters can't give that away by like how tall they have to be, like the same height in every scene, right? They have to measure up to each other in the same, all these things you wouldn't necessarily think about. And and now that, and hearing about the ways that an animation can have mistakes that you didn't think it could, you're like, oh, you're right, the characters could be different sizes from shot to shot. You don't think about that as a film director. Your actors always stay constant. And so it's cool seeing the different challenges. And there's also a lot of freedom with animation. You could write explosions, and you could write these, although one thing is similar with film and animation, extras are a pain in the ass. We always try to avoid scenes with lots of people, like crowds, because it's just as much of a pain to cast the background actors for that as it is to draw individually every person. And I didn't. It's funny because that is where it sounds like a film is like, oh yeah, we can't have background, we can't have a large crowd, and I'm like, oh. But beyond that, they are very different methods of telling a story. Like Viv's restrictions are so much different than my restrictions.